At the time, I had a production company. I produced several pictures, been co-producer on several. It was the coming thing. Burt Lancaster was producing pictures, and also Kirk Douglas began and produced his own pictures. I had been at United Artists a while, and then I moved over to Universal and began to produce pictures. So we read a great deal of material. And I forget whether it was Jim Webb or Cy Bartlett, my partners, or I who came up with the novel by John MacDonald called The Executioners. But it seemed a good thriller. It offered several good acting parts. And we decided to go in the business of making a thriller.
I was making Guns of Navarone with Gregory Peck, and halfway through the shooting, Peck gave me a novel to read called The Executioner. He said if I liked it, he would like me to direct the film in Hollywood. He told me right away when he handed me the novel, he said, my part is not really the lead. The lead is Cady, the villain, and whoever plays that will steal the picture from me. So you have to look after me.
I had liked him a lot on the Guns of Navarone, and particularly because he took over on about 5 days' notice. Carl Foreman, the producer, had had a falling out with the original director and sent him packing. And Lee was somewhere in England, and we looked at a lot of pictures that he'd made. He seemed to have an eye for action film and at the same time a good eye for character. He was good on the quiet scenes and on the noisy scenes. But it was just amazing the way he took over, and we all admired him. Tony Quinn and David Niven and Stanley Baker. We all admired him a great deal, the way he took over in that huge action picture. So I had that experience, and I thought he was just the fellow for Cape Fear.
So then, after I'd finished Guns of Navarone, I came to Hollywood to work on Cape Fear. The Executioner was now called Cape Fear, a title that Greg Peck made up.
The Executioner, I thought, was a kind of a turn-off of a title. And I think I had the idea that geographical titles were sometimes successful, you know, like Casablanca, Dodge City. And it occurred to me to run my finger up the Atlantic coast from Florida on north and look for an interesting title. And I was lucky enough to discover Cape Fear, the Cape Fear River in North Carolina. And it seemed extremely appropriate for our story.
Now, let me get this straight. You're not still blaming me for what you did.
Still don't get the picture, do you, Counselor? Well, I can see this is going to take a little time, a lot of time.
It was obvious to me that of the two parts, Max Cady was the stronger part. I mean, he was the threat. When he walked into a scene, everyone was on guard, so to speak, wondering what he might do next. I played a good guy, more or less a predictable guy. In size, the parts were about the same. So I wanted a very strong actor for the role. And I thought that Bob Mitchum was a great idea.
Oh, in the name of heaven, pay him off, buy him off, give him some money and he'll go away, but don't do this to us.
Polly Bergen, I had seen her sing, and I think I had seen her in a film, but I liked her very much, and I thought she was just right for the part of my wife.
Sam, I'm going to make a humiliating suggestion, and it's humiliating for me. You hire yourself a private detective. Now, that's all you can do. You get Charlie Severs. Now, if anyone can dig up something we can act on, he can.
I'd seen Martin Balsam in several films. One, of course, was Psycho, and I always felt that he was such a fine actor. And when we interviewed him, I knew that he was absolutely right for the part.
So you're a lawyer, and you believe in due process. But it's your family, not mine. A type like that is an animal, so you've got to fight him like an animal.
Telly Savalas, who was not that well known at that time. I don't think he'd had his big series called Kojak yet. But I knew he was a very good actor, so we cast him as the detective.
We were looking for a girl, and I wanted to play Hayley Mills, who I discovered and gave her her first film, Tiger Bay. And unfortunately, she was making a film for Disney at the time, and had another one lined up for Disney, so I couldn't use her. Eventually, we decided on Laurie Martin. I must admit that I always had Hayley Mills in mind, and that's a bad thing for a director. You know, I was always visualing how little Hayley would play it, because Hayley was young and very sexy, not by displaying anything. She just was a very sexual girl. She absolutely lights up the screen and would have played this part superbly. So it was a little unfair for Laurie that I was always regretting that it wasn't Hayley there. Laurie gave a great performance. She was very, very good. To this day, I think I was not quite as good with her as I could be. I felt like that. I felt I wasn't doing justice to Laurie. But she came through.
Well, anyway, you're 10 minutes late.
It's a mistake to teach women how to tell time. They always use it against you.
I remember one time when I complimented her on a scene that she had done, and she said, "May I kiss you?" I said, "Sure." And she did kiss me. And she said, "I'm going to call you Sweet Lips from here on out." And she did.
8 years ago, I was a witness against a man and he was sent to prison. And the thing is, he's out now and blames me for his conviction.
Greg became entirely the actor. He never intruded as a producer.
When it comes time to go on the set, the director is the boss. Simple as that. I would never quarrel with the director if we disagreed in front of the crew. We would settle that in the office. But actually, there was no room for disagreement because everything was decided in the office beforehand. We had a good meeting of minds. We worked on the script together.
It was a very good relationship that I built up with Gregory Peck. And we were always conscious of the fact that his part was in danger of becoming subsidiary to the villain. And of course, we worked hard on trying to at least balance it a bit so that we could bring him up. And the way he played the part and the strength he showed, it became a very good battle between the two men.
$10,000 now and another $10,000 over the next 2 years, providing you keep out of the state.
Suppose I come back after the money runs out.
I'll give you a simple answer to that one. I'll kill you off.
It was a great teamwork between the two of them. And Greg was conscious the whole time that the villain was the colorful part and that Mitchum was playing it beautifully, and he let him run with it. He never once came to me and suggested cutting any lines. In fact, we added lines, and he never complained. And so it was wonderful teamwork between the two.
You just put the law in my hands, and I'm gonna break your heart with it. Ain't nothing can stop me. That house and that car and that wife and kid, they ain't worth nothing to you now.
It was the first time that I had ever worked with one of my heroes, Robert Mitchum, and I had the good fortune of having him in a great role. He did warn me right from the start. He said, this part is a drunk, a rapist, and a violent man, and I live my parts, which was a sort of warning that we might have some stormy passages during the making of the film. That was fine, and we did have some stormy passages. By the time I came to Hollywood, Webb had already written a script, so I didn't really have very much to do in the way of the construction of the script. It was very well constructed. I just worked on it purely from a director's point of view, trying to make each scene a little more suspenseful. You know, I've studied Hitchcock. I did work with Hitchcock in a film in England many, many years ago. I doubt whether he would ever remember me or have noticed me at the time. But I've studied all his films, and when I come to a scene, I can't help it, but I wonder how Hitchcock would do it. Hitchcock almost always liked to let the audience know, and the person on the screen not to know. I saw it only in black and white. I felt that the blacks and the shadows would enhance the story and that color might spoil it. I didn't want to make it in color. Bob Boyle, the art director, who had worked on many Hitchcock pictures, did a wonderful job. He knew exactly what I was after, and it was a supreme pleasure to work with him. Knowing that I was very much in tune with Hitchcock and with his experience with Hitchcock, we knew at once what each other wanted. For instance, just a little bedroom set. I would begin to say, you know, I want to shoot it here through the bed rails and have the shadows and just one lamp. And he said, I know exactly what you want. He knew everything. When I said the railings that the girl is running through, they must be black railings. So when we got on location and I found these wonderful railings, they weren't quite dark enough, and he had them all painted black. He knew exactly what I was after. Most of it was shot here in the studio, but we were, I think, 3 weeks or so, or maybe even 4, in Savannah. It was very pleasant. Everything went smoothly. Mitchum, of course, who had been in a road gang there in his youth, felt a bitterness against the whole place, against the community, and he had a big chip on his shoulder. So again, he was explosive, always ready to explode, which was great for the picture. I mean, I didn't try to stop that.
You're just an animal. Coarse, lustful, barbaric.
Barry Chase. She was a newcomer, which is always exciting. Up till this moment, she had only done dance television with Fred Astaire. Mitchum kept that role to believability every inch of the way. And it was a great experience for me to work with this man who might explode at any moment, and sometimes did. And I got caught up with the Mitchum